So I'm Kat, executive editor of Garden Culture magazine, and I'm joined today by Joe Skibbie of Beets, Beds, and Browns. So we have a regular feature, Joe, in our magazine called Eco Optimism, because we found that there's just so much negativity in today's world. You know, if you watch or read the news, you walk away feeling pretty down about things. So we wanted to focus on the positives and initiatives that highlight the good in our communities, because there's so much of that happening, but we don't always hear about it. So that's why you're here today.
Fantastic, Kat. Thanks for having me. I'm excited about our conversation today.
I am too. You have an amazing grassroots effort that you've launched, and we'll talk about that more in just a minute. But first, let's chat about your organization, Beets, Beds, and Browns. What you've done is combine three of your biggest passions to start conversation and help people connect.
Yeah, Beats, Beds, and Browns was started as a COVID crisis. I say, as an extrovert, I really needed to be talking to more people than I was throughout my day to day, and being homebound for the majority. In a conversation with a buddy, he was telling me about some YouTube streamer that he had followed, and I'm like, oh, what would that look like if I were to do something like that? And I am not an expert in the beats, the emerging hip hop artists that we interview, the beds, the gardening from homestead to commercial ag, or the bourbons, the craft whiskey distillers. We'd love to have larger, but we're starting in the craft environment. But I am enjoying the ride. I am really enjoying talking to people, and where I didn't initially see a throughput or a straight line as to how those were all connected. They were just three random things I was interested in. We're starting to see more urban agricultural installations. You've heard of Detroit's AgriHood. Chicago's got, comparable space, if not comparable institutions. Um, and you can't have whiskey without corn. So as we interview these distillers, you're starting to talk more and more about how they're sourcing different ingredients from across the country because of the different conditions that they've been grown in to provide different flavor profiles for their craft whiskey. So um, I'm always shocked at the straight line and the small business stories of our artists and the distillers as they try and grow brands from scratch is really something that we've been happy to shine the light on.
Okay, and if we talk about, agriculture and horticulture, did you grow up gardening? Did you always have a keen interest in this?
So I like to joke that I grew up on a goat farm in suburban Glen Ellen, Illinois. We spent summers on a friend's farm, one of the last operating farms in DuPage County, and in a fairly affluent suburb is why it's kind of a surprise or irony there. But yeah, I remember, we're playing in the yard and throughout the grounds, and the gentleman whose house it was came out of a thicket. It was literally just a thicket, and the whole thing's shaking. We're kind of terrified, like, what's going on? And he comes out with a couple giant squash, and he's like, "Well, I guess this is for dinner tonight." And that moment always stuck with me, from sheer terror to the safety of home, and then that you were actually going to eat something out of that. And the first time I started a garden, it was a 4x6 plot in my first home that I purchased in Dallas, Texas. And it was incredible. It's like the story of Jack and the Beanstalk. Literally, you throw seeds into the ground, out sprouts something edible and magical. And I was hooked at that point. And every year since then, I've grown something. I've grown more, and I've learned from the process. Because if you're not in a head-to-head with Mother Nature when you're gardening, then you're really not having a successful natural garden. And whether it's squash bugs or spider mites or Mother Nature, you're always fighting ahead of or behind something. And that's, again, what we advocate for is put some seeds in the ground and just get started. Hopefully you'll get hooked like I did, and you'll see the physical and the emotional and the mental well-being benefits from that task. And if you're listening to some good tunes and sipping on a little brown in a cup, then you're doing it right, I think.
Sounds amazing. So this is the perfect segue. Let's talk now about 100K in 10 years and the concept behind that.
Yeah, absolutely. I literally feel so overwhelmingly happy when I'm in the garden. How could I not share that with other people? And, you know, I had a brother who had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. They say that that's contributed to Roundup and glyphosate and some of the commercial things that go into larger farms. I'm not anti-large farm. If you grow for any period of time, you realize there has to be solutions to the things that are applied. And again, farmers aren't out here lighting money on large commercial farms. They're trying to spread it as thinly as possible in order to make sure that they maximize their outputs, just like me in my small raised beds. But again, native landscaping, you can save seeds, heirloom garden plants, you can save seeds. So here I am stockpiling all these seeds, and it came to me that I could be distributing those. So we're not the only one online. If you type free seed kits or on Facebook, there's different people that are doing this. But I thought, what a better way to be able to connect people to those three topics that I'm learning more about and bring them with on my journey as they start from a seed in a cup, transplanting that into a big pot, taking that pot, transplanting it outside, hopefully having success, saving their own seeds. It's magical, that whole process. And quite frankly, we've turned it into speaking opportunities within different health systems and their cardiac recovery units and healthy, food matters programming. And we've done Boy Scout troops. We've done our own presentations online. And again, we're overlapping with a lot of musical interests in Chicago, throughout Northwest Indiana, that are also revitalizing their neighborhoods with growing at the core. So we look to partner with those artists and entities in the future to be able to spread the word.
Such a unique kind of twist on growing, right? Like you said, these kinds of things exist, but you've brought it to a different level, and I really like it.
I'm an entrepreneur in my professional life, and you realize that there's organizations that are doing work beneficial to the globe, and they're in the same commercial park. They just lack that connecting force in that community. So if I can be a conduit to that, if I can make connections within organizations, and if I can further the missions that we all share, then I think I'm on the right path.
Absolutely. So giving away a seed kit is actually pretty simple, and yet the impact could be tremendous in the way that it affects different areas of our life, right?
Yeah. Again, I talked about the physical, the mental, the spiritual. I'm more of a naturalist than an organized religion guy, but to be out and see the native wildlife that has come even around our small raised garden beds in an HOA. The insects come with the native plants, both beneficial pollinators and the predators that keep your garden pest free. So that limits the amount of chemicals that we have to put on. And again, all the terms I feel get adopted and amended. So, you think about organic and you think that means pesticide free. Well, it doesn't always mean pesticide free. So, outside of diatomaceous earth, which is just ground seashells, neem oil, which is a naturally occurring agent, the marigolds that have naturally occurring pyrethrin in them to keep pests at bay. I'm trying to think. Neem, diatomaceous earth. Yeah, that's all we really put in the garden, and that's not to say that there's not some loss. We do run into that occasionally, but again, that's where if you're doing this and this is your living, and you need that to make revenue, then I could see where some more aggressive instances might be necessary. But yeah, getting hands in the dirt, I think, is important, and if I can again, I think it goes, if I can just change one person's perception or get one person growing, then I've made a difference. Why not 100,000? Why stop at one, right?
Why not? Why not? Have you had a lot of interest so far?
Um, it's crazy. We've given out about 3,000 seed kits in the 3 years that we've been doing it. And typically that's, heavily weighted in the spring. And then we do some fairs, markets, and expos that we get big interest around. A lot of people signing up for that and buying some of the botanicals that we've created. But I'm always shocked at where we're sending seed kits. I mean, places across the country that I can't even pronounce. And again, 100K in 10 years is the hashtag. We'll send a kit anywhere in the contiguous 48. And we don't, that's completely free. That's a self-funded venture. Maybe at some point I'll make some revenue on something that we're doing. But, the long-term goal is retirement. And this is something that can keep me active in my retirement. And whether it's content creation or merchandising events, those are all down the pipeline things that we can envision happening. Our first 2 seasons, we were formally taping and doing 2 8-hour days of production and then we would edit and release like 8 weeks later on a fixed weekly schedule. That was very cost intensive, and we had two launch concerts for season one and season two. A local print screener. We had some of the artists that we interviewed perform, and had some products on display. Um, but without generating any revenue. That wasn't something that I could keep in that format. But now we live stream. So that not only expands our reach to artists that we find from across the country on TikTok or any of the other social media. We can send out invites. We can interview people, find out what their connection is to the growing and the whiskey. That also expands our distiller reach. We don't have to get them on site. And we can just push content. So we started doing 2 seasons last year. We're wrapping up season 6 currently. We film live, or go live Wednesdays at 7 p.m. And season 7 is being planned right now. We'll hope to kick that off in February. And typical release dates are April and then September. But we got a little bit of behind with the amount of work we had to do for our growing season this year.
Right. So what can people expect to find in a seed kit that they get from you?
Yeah, so it's literally just a half teaspoon of seeds that we send to you with a letter. The letter is welcoming you and bringing you up to speed on, what season is live or when the next season's going to be scheduled, or where you can find that information. And then a couple stickers, or a sticker that we send and get you going. So that's the kit itself. And we're thinking this year again of as spring rolls around, doing our Get Your Garden Ready presentation. So beetsbedsbrowns.com. Follow us on all social at beetsbedsbrowns, and we'll just make sure that we continue to eliminate the barriers. Right? It's I hear people and they say, "Oh, I've got a black thumb," or "everything I grow dies," and it's like, no, that's not true. Let's show you what is the right way to do it, so maybe where you're underwatering, or maybe don't leave it in the sun spot on your front porch that gets 10 hours of sun when it's a seedling. Like, there's some things that we can do to ensure success. And again, the goal of this is somebody gets a seed kit, they share their progress and journey and tag us in it. And we've had that happen a couple times this year, which we're really happy to see. And that really, again, spreads the joy back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I saw your YouTube channel already has tons of how-to videos, like what to do when you receive your kit. Very basic, simple, setting people up for success, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And we've got a recurring um, segment on TikTok that is "How's It Growing?", where we go ahead and update people about things that are happening on our plot. We're in just under 3/4 of an acre, I mentioned, in an HOA. We've got 2 apple trees, a pear tree, 2 grapevines, 2 15 by 20-foot beds. We expanded another 8 by 3-foot bed and 4 2 by 4-foot beds. And we got fruit and nut trees too. We did cherry, hazelnut, and walnut. So we're
Nice.
testing the limits of the open space.
Yes, yeah, I'm actually pretty impressed that the HOA rules allow for all of that, because that's like a little mini forest you've got going there.
Yeah, definitely migrating more towards the permaculture concept, where it can all stay, and minimized water needs and year over year growing. But yeah, I do love the whole process, starting in February or March, and getting the seedlings started, and then being able to transplant in, one at a time or all in a bunch throughout the garden. And then even as I mentioned, I'm still learning always. We go to in-ground farms, we go to hydroponic grow facilities. We've got an aquaponic setup in our barn this winter. Threw a couple goldfish from the pond into the hydroponic kit, and the lettuce is doing great. The peppers seem to have stagnated, but we'll overwinter those, which is something we've documented in prior years, that peppers can actually overwinter and get a jump on the growing season next year. So anything we're learning, we're sharing, is really what it amounts to. And anybody that thinks they have a black thumb or can't grow, please join us, because I'm proof that you can learn.
Absolutely, and I think gardening too is just you're constantly learning, constantly evolving, right? You never reach a point where you know it all. I
Oh
think
yeah.
that gardens throw all kind of curveballs at you, and you're constantly, you have something that you have to learn from in every season.
Well, just like anything, there's the gatekeepers, right? There's the master gardeners, and there's this quote unquote experts, and um, everything that I've come across, whether it's AI or whether it's Google searches, it's oh, I saw this. Is this factual? Can I plant this next to this? Will this thrive in this environment? Do I really need to crop rotate? Yeah, and there's black and white yes or no answers to all of that. So with that much information available, again, if we can be a conduit to make it approachable, then we're happy to do so. If you bypass us altogether, go ahead and buy your seeds at the Home Depot discount stand and get started. And as long as you're growing, we'll have something to talk about.
So, how do people participate? They go onto your website and sign up?
Yep. Visit beetsbedsbrowns.com. There's a tab on top in the nav menu for free seed kit. You go ahead and register. We'll send those. Typically, again, this is a self-driven model. I have a family. I have a business I run. So if we can get those out within 30 days, we'll have those sent to you a little bit more frequently as we approach growing season in the spring. But yeah, it's a thing that we've created enough process around to invite people to interview, to do, monthly or quarterly distributions of seed kit, to be filming content as we're creating it, as we're putting the seed in the ground ourselves. So it's, definitely a passion project and something that I enjoy and that I've worked into the day to day.
Yeah, I mean, did you ever expect, you were saying that this began during the pandemic when you had so little to do and you needed to find something for your mental health and your physical health and just to get you out of, where we all were at that time. Did you ever think that it would snowball into this?
It's, again, I have a very long-term window for this. I mentioned this is kind of where retirement is going to take me. And if I can be listening to amazing artists around my garden and have a cocktail when I'm through, then I think that's a pretty good retirement by my book. So I'd never set, oh, if I don't hit 1,000 followers and monetize on YouTube by year X, then I'm moving on. Like, no, I started with 0 followers. If nobody watches my content, I'll probably still do it. It's just, it is shocking to see, 300 subscribers on YouTube, 720 on Instagram. We're over 1,200 on TikTok. Um, and I'm still not posting enough to see that growth increase, right? It's my profession is digital marketing. So we're kind of leveraging a skill set there to help grow this brand. But I'm not an everyday poster yet. I know that I'm not in the algorithm 24/7. I know I need to increase that. And whether we use, internal team resources for that, or whether I take time away and become the person that does that, we're big cliffhanger now. We've got our low tunnel under 4 to 5 inches of snow, and we've had sub-zero temperatures for 2 weeks. So if for nothing else, to catch the what's new video on the low tunnel, please follow and find out, because I'm dying to go out there today or tomorrow. It's the first time it's been above freezing in 2 weeks. Did it work? Is the cold weather vegetables that we put out there, are they this cold hardy? Because it's been in the single digits in Northwest Indiana here. So
That's right. Always experimenting, right? And seeing what works, what doesn't, and then build from there.
thankfully, we're not a subsistence garden yet. We all may be headed to that, but
Yeah, thankfully, that's true. I also live in a really snowy climate, so I know exactly what you're going through.
yeah, it's tough.
Um, how vital do you think grassroots efforts like this are to, establishing food security and local food movements, really?
Yeah, great question. I'm actually on the Northwest Indiana Food Council here, and in Northwest Indiana, obviously, but we're fighting for a just and equitable food system for all. So this initiative happened to overlap with my interest in that, and again, it's completely separate, as though I support their initiatives, which are region roots, creating an infrastructure and distribution economy around small farmers. They have the local food for schools program, which is making sure that locally sourced fresh produce is distributed through high school and elementary, middle school cafeterias. And then they have a Farm Her to Mama program, which is multi-purpose, right? You have all these aid organizations, you have people in need. Let's get the food to them. But who's supporting the infrastructure and the small farmers that can actually create and satisfy that need? because that's not a 100-acre corn and soybean farm that are throughout Porter County here in Indiana that we're neighbors with. So both serve a part in the food economy, but to be able to have local farmers and rely on barter relationships, rely on market vending, rely on large hospitality industries being able to have a distribution partner and being a connection to the local suppliers. These are all hypercritical and more so post COVID, right? We've made our mistakes. We know that we can't rely on the few Sodexos and Cisco's at the top of that to be able to make sure that everyone has fresh produce. So if you're not growing, where are you going to get that fresh produce when in 3 days the grocery store is empty? And I'm not a doom and gloom guy, but that's kind of what we saw, us as a nation saw in COVID. So again, having your supply chain be local, having access to trade and barter, having canned goods, now that we're not homesteading, but we definitely have our sauce, our pears from our tree, our peppers and pickled peppers and other things that we've grown and have now stored. Yeah, let's hope we don't get to the worst case where we need those, but it's nice to pull out fresh stuff also to mix with meals throughout winter and have access to that produce stored fresh.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And while I was looking at your website, there was so much great content on there. And there was one thing that really jumped out at me. You said, the future of food isn't on a grocery store shelf, it's in the soil of your garden, whether that starts on an acre of land or in a cup on your apartment balcony. I love that. It speaks to me. It speaks to anybody, right? Because first of all, you're letting people know that this is accessible. If you live in a tiny apartment in a city, you can do this. You can order this seed packet and you can start, growing something small and then let it evolve from there.
Absolutely, and even again, I mentioned our property where we've built out trees, et cetera. I started in a 4x6 plot. I started in kindergarten with the grass and the styrofoam cup, right? Like being fascinated about growing is something that I was always drawn to naturally. Um, but now where we've got maybe a decorative feature that is a pot that has cucumbers in it or that has chives in it, and again, taking things indoors to be able to overwinter peppers. All of these things are, um, baby steps that you can do on a patio or on your countertop, on a windowsill. Um, and again, some of the things that you're able to get from our seed kit is carrot and dill. You can put carrot in a loose bag of potting soil and it'll grow right in the bag. You can up pot that into a larger pot. Dill, you can start in a coffee cup on a windowsill. And, once you chop that fresh dill and put it on salmon or make a dip with it, hopefully you're hooked, right? Because it's store-bought vegetables are sad and lonely. I wish they weren't, but I'm not a snob about anything. I probably have holes in my socks that I'm wearing now, but it is when you taste the difference of a carrot that's grown by you in your ground, and you go to the store and taste like carrots are delicious. I still eat carrots from the bag, but when I get those grown, man, it is just a different experience. Tomatoes are the same thing. The tomatoes that you grow are not the same. Every vegetable that you grow in your garden is going to taste 5x, 10x, whatever the multiplier is. It's just going to taste better. And I think once you start to see that, you don't care if it takes 3 months to get, you have to get it. It's so good.
Oh, absolutely. It tastes better, but then just knowing where it came from, what went into it, right? That in itself is huge. And being able to walk
A
a couple of
hurdle. Me and Mother Nature went toe to toe, and this popped out, right? It didn't rain for 3 weeks, and I kept you watered.
Exactly. It's a success story, right? And you sit at the
Not a
table and you all enjoy it and it's great. Do you have anything else that you'd like to talk about with regards to this amazing initiative that you've started?
Yeah, I would just say we're always looking for feedback. So like, comment, and share any of the posts or content you find at Beets Beds Browns on your social media of choice. Wednesdays at 7 p.m., we stream live on YouTube. So this coming Wednesday, we'll have Sister Sprig Farm. And then the following, we'll have Derek Draves from Ditto Farms. We're closing out strong, season 6 strong with 2 farm interests. And, tap in, view it live, make a comment. We love to hear how we're doing. If there's areas we can improve, we're not above instructive or constructive criticism. But yeah, tap in. If you're not a grower, get your seed kit. We want you to start and then let us know how it's going.
Amazing. Good luck. Thank you, Joe.
Awesome. I appreciate it, Kat. Thank you.